Yeah, y'all. It's cutoff time. I don't know what happened, but I know we had a short commercial, so I'm pop back in. I'm finna retag everybody, and then we can finish out what we were discussing about the subconscious slash conscious mind. So yeah, I'm gonna put on my little intro song, and then we can get started as soon as I tag everybody. So be right back, y'all. Yeah, we back, y'all. Sorry about the short cutoff. Already know what time it is when that happens. We 20 minutes in, so we good to go. I wanted to, talk about specifically tonight identity crisis. Know who you are. Identity crisis, knowing who you are. So we want to deal with why identity crisis happens and how to deal with it. For many years, I did go through an identity crisis based on experience and circumstances, and I just felt like I wasn't fulfilled to do what I'm here on this planet to do. I wasn't sure. I was too busy listening to outside voices, some critics, just people that wanted to see me do what they wanted me to do instead of seeing what I needed to do for myself. And my thing is this, guys, know your critics. Know who's coming after you for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent. Know who's in your corner, know who's there to look and stare, and know who's looking for your next downfall. But the thing starts with a thought, like I was beginning to say before the cutoff. Everything starts with a thought. That ceiling fan that you got in your house to the couch on your floor, it all started with a thought and dream and purpose. And it gave you fulfillment. So if you're doing something and you don't have, the means to do, or the resources that you have, know you must find out if this is your purpose. You must find out if this is that plan for your life, the path that you're supposed to be on. And also, too, does it make you feel fulfilled? If you just doing it to be doing it, it's like you being a own spectator in your life. I don't want to be remembered as getting things done, but making things happen. And so I'm going to read a quick article before we go on break for our EDU, why identity crisis happen and how to deal with it. And we can find that at www.psychemechanicks.com/2015/01/y-identity-crisis-what.html. And it says, no death, no doom, no anguish can arouse the surpassing despair which flows from a loss of identity. H.P. Lovecraft. We have many identities that we acquire from our past experiences and cultural backgrounds. These identities may be broadly classified as positive, the identities we like, and the negative, the identities we dislike. For example, you may have a positive identity of being a successful person and a negative identity of being short-tempered. Identity crisis happens when a person loses a psychological identity, when he loses a way he used to define himself. It could be either an identity that he liked, positive, or an identity he disliked, negative. But in most cases, an identity crisis is often the result of losing an identity that served to increase a person's self-worth, a positive identity. Identity and the ego. We suffer from an identity crisis when we lose an identity that we were using to feed our ego with. The purpose of most of our identities is just that, to sustain our ego. One of the major tasks of the subconscious mind is to protect our ego. It does all it can to achieve that end, the most significant of which is maintaining a worthwhile identity. People can identify with almost anything: a material possession, a place, a friend, a religion, a lover, a country, a social group, and so on. If you want to know what are the ideas or things that you identify with, just pay attention to the words that you normally place after my city, my country, my job, my car, my lover, my college, my anything. Anything that you add after my forms your extended identity. Ideas that you attach to your own self. Ideas that you use to define yourself. I'm sure by now you understand why people get so attached to their extended identities. It's just an attempt to raise one's self-worth. If you have a friend who owns a Mercedes, he'll see himself as the Mercedes owner and project that identity to the world to boost his self-worth. If your brother studied at MIT, he'll project the identity of being a Mitian to the world. People become strongly attached to their identities for a strong and valid reason. It helps them maintain their self-worth, a fundamental goal of all humans. So losing an identity means losing one's self-worth, and nobody wants that. When a person loses one of their important ego-boosting identity crisis happens. Identifying with temporary things sooner or later leads to identity crisis. A person who identifies strongly with his job will suffer from a severe identity crisis if he gets fired. A person who loses his Mercedes in an unfortunate accident will no longer see himself as the proud Merc owner. A person who mainly sees himself as the lucky husband of Jane, the beautiful, will lose all his self-worth if his marriage fails. The only way to avoid an identity crisis is to not identify with temporary things at all. I know that's easier said than done, but you can do it by increasing your awareness of psychological phenomena and objectifying them. One way would be becoming more knowledgeable by reading articles such as the one you're reading right now. When you identify with temporary things, your self-worth automatically becomes fragile. You never know when these things will be taken away from you. Your self-worth will then become dependent on the whims and vagaries of life. What then should I identify with? Even if we give up identifying with temporary things, we'll still crave to identify with something because that's how the mind works. It can't stand being nothing. It has to find a way to define itself. Since our goal is to maintain our self-worth and prevent it from being too fragile, the only logical solution is to identify with permanent, long-lasting things. When you identify with your knowledge, skills, and personality, this sort of identification will remain with you to the day you die. You can't lose these things in a fire, accident, or a divorce. So my first question is, based on experiences and circumstances, have you posed the question, who am I? Second question, are you living knowing who you are, or are you letting go of what you imagine yourself to be? Do you feel like a social misfit? When we come back, I'm going to do EDU, Psychological Identity and Identity Crisis, at www.toknowmyself.com. So stay tuned. Don't go nowhere.